In 1957, the world held its breath for a kiss. On the silver screen, the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, shared his very first on-screen kiss, and the lucky woman who became the envy of millions of female fans was Dolores Hart. She had it all: a beauty likened to the next Grace Kelly, a skyrocketing career, a $1 million contract with Paramount Pictures, and soon after, a sparkling engagement ring on her finger from the perfect man. She was on top of the world. But can you believe it? Just a few years later, at the age of 25, this woman threw it all away: fame, fortune, career, and even the great love of her life. To do what, you ask? To walk through the gates of a cloistered monastery, to put on a simple habit, and to live a life of silence and prayer. From the dream house she was meant to have, to leaving her family behind to become a nun, what legacy did she truly leave? This is not a story about a scandal. This is not about running away from a broken heart. This is the story of an unimaginable choice, a tragedy of sacrifice, and a journey to answer the question, is there a love greater than Elvis? Today we will turn back one of the most unique and shocking pages in Hollywood history, the story of Dolores Hart. Dolores Hicks, her birth name, was born on October 20th, 1938 in Chicago, Illinois. She was the only child of actor Burt Hicks and Harriet Hicks. The blood of an artist ran through her veins from a young age. Her parents divorced when she was very young, and Dolores often lived with her paternal grandparents, who were devout Catholics. It was this environment that planted the first seeds of faith in her young soul. However, her father's world, the world of stage and screen, held a powerful allure. She often accompanied her father to his performances, watching him on stage and nurturing her own dream of becoming an actress. After graduating high school, she attended Marymount College and began taking on small roles. Her bright, elegant beauty and innate talent quickly caught the eye of producer Hal B. Wallace, who signed her to a contract and changed her name to Dolores Hart. Dolores Hart's career truly took off when she was cast opposite the biggest superstar of the era. Elvis Presley, Loving You, 1957. This was Dolores Hart's debut film and Elvis's first color movie. She played Susan Jessup, a sweet girl who discovers the talent of Deke Rivers, Elvis, and helps him become a star. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable. Notably, Dolores Hart made film history as the first actress to kiss Elvis Presley on screen. That kiss became an iconic moment, envied by millions of female fans worldwide. Behind the scenes, they became good friends. Elvis deeply respected Dolores, often reading the Bible with her during breaks and calling her Miss Dolores. King Creole, 1958, the success of Loving You brought them back together for King Creole, considered one of the best films of Elvis's career. This time, Dolores played Nellie, a gentle girl who serves as a ray of light in the dark life of Danny Fisher. Elvis, a young man entangled in the criminal underworld of New Orleans. Her role was more complex, requiring psychological depth, and once again, she delivered an outstanding performance. Their on-screen relationship was more tragic, contributing to the film's classic status. Starring alongside Elvis Presley launched Dolores Hart's name to new heights. She was no longer just Elvis's girl, but was recognized as a true talent in her own right. The press began calling her the new Grace Kelly, not just for her elegant and sophisticated beauty, but also for her versatile acting potential. Dolores didn't want to be typecast in sweet, innocent roles. She continuously sought out more challenging parts. Wild is the Wind, 1957. In this film, she acted alongside legends like Anna Magnani and Anthony Quinn. Though a supporting role, she proved she could hold her own with the biggest names in the industry. Lonely Hearts, 1958. She co-starred with Montgomery Clift and Robert Ryan in a heavy psychological drama. Her portrayal of an innocent girl caught in a complex relationship showcased her depth as an actress. Where the Boys Are, 1960. This classic romantic comedy about college students on spring break became a massive box office hit and a cultural touchstone for the youth of that era. Dolores played Merritt, a smart and somewhat serious girl searching for true love amidst fleeting flings. This film solidified her stardom. Francis of Assisi, 1961. This was the fateful film, the biggest turning point in her life. She was cast as Saint Clare of Assisi, a noblewoman who gave up everything to follow Saint Francis. To prepare for the role, she delved deep into the saint's life. When the film was being shot in Rome, she had an audience with Pope John the 23rd. He said something prophetic to her. "No, you are Clare." Those words deeply affected Dolores' soul. The role was no longer acting. It became an intense spiritual experience. She felt a sense of peace and purpose she had never known before. The Inspector, 1962, a tense psychological thriller in which she played Lisa Held, a Jewish survivor of the Auschwitz concentration camp trying to reach Palestine. This role demanded a portrayal of internal pain, torment, and desperation. It was one of her most tragic and heavyweight roles, showing a much more mature and gritty Dolores Hart. Come Fly With Me, 1963. This was her final film, a romantic comedy about the lives of three airline stewardesses. Though a light-hearted movie for Dolores, it marked the end of a glorious chapter. Parallel to her film career, she also found success on Broadway in the play The Pleasure of His Company, earning a prestigious Tony Award nomination in 1959. To the outside world, Dolores Hart had it all. She was beautiful, famous, wealthy, sought after, and had a wide-open future. But deep inside, a silent tragedy was gnawing at her soul. This was the greatest pain and tragedy of her career. Not a failed role or a scandal, but a feeling of extreme emptiness right at the pinnacle of her fame. She once shared that life in Hollywood felt like a machine. She was a product that was polished and promoted. Everything was planned. What she should wear, what she should say, who she should date. She felt like she was living someone else's life, not her own. The lavish parties, the praise, the lucrative contracts could not fill the ever-growing spiritual void. She recalled feeling exhausted and drained after long days of filming, attending parties, and giving interviews. She craved silence, peace, and a deeper meaning for her life. She began to ask herself, what am I doing all of this for? What is the real purpose? The role of Saint Clare opened a door to an answer. It showed her another world, a world where one could find joy and fulfillment in renunciation, in service, and in the love of God. The tragedy of Dolores Hart was the tragedy of a soul that didn't belong where it was. Her suffering came not from the outside, but from the fierce internal struggle between two worlds, the glamorous world of Hollywood and the silent world of faith. After the success of Where the Boys Are, Dolores' feelings of exhaustion and emptiness reached a peak. A friend suggested she take a break at the Abbey of Regina Laudis in Bethlehem, Connecticut, a place renowned for its tranquility. Initially, she thought of it as just a vacation to recharge her batteries before returning to work. But when she set foot in the monastery, she felt something different. She was captivated by the silence, the solemnity, and the absolute sense of peace. She joined the nuns in their daily chores, gardening, tending to livestock, and praying. She realized that the people here, despite living simple and austere lives, radiated a joy and contentment she had never seen in Hollywood. She began visiting the Abbey more frequently, twice a year, to find her balance. Each time she left, she felt an indescribable sadness, as if she were leaving her true home. The calling started to become clearer, but she still tried to ignore it. While she was struggling with her spiritual calling, Dolores' romantic life was picture perfect. She met and fell in love with Don Robinson, a handsome, kind, and successful architect. They were the perfect couple in everyone's eyes. Their love was real, deep, and sincere. In 1963, Don Robinson proposed. Dolores accepted. They planned a lavish wedding, bought a house, and prepared for a happy married life. To her, this seemed to be the answer to her emptiness. Perhaps love and a warm family would be the peaceful harbor she was searching for. She wore the sparkling engagement ring, filmed her final movie Come Fly With Me, and prepared for a new chapter in her life. Everything seemed to be settled. It was during the preparations for her wedding that the calling inside her surged again, stronger than ever before. She realized she could no longer run from it. She loved Don, but she felt another greater love calling to her, the love for God. This was the climax of the tragedy and pain in Dolores Hart's life. She faced an unimaginable choice. On one side, the man she loved, a life of wealth and worldly happiness. On the other, an uncertain path of austerity and sacrifice in a monastery. She spent sleepless nights crying and praying. She was heartbroken at the thought of shattering the heart of Don Robinson, a man who had done nothing wrong and only loved her completely. She was also pained at the thought of giving up the career she had built with her own blood, sweat, and tears. Finally, she made her decision. She went to see Don Robinson, not to break up, but to tell him the truth. Their conversation was one of the most tragic yet noble moments. She told him, "Don, I love you, but I feel that God is calling me. I have to do this. If you truly love me, you have to help me." Don Robinson's reaction was astonishing. Though his heart was broken, he didn't try to hold her back or get angry. He understood her sincerity and her agony. He said, "I knew. Every relationship has its secret, and I always knew what ours was. I will not stand in your way." Don Robinson drove her to the monastery. When she walked through those gates, she left everything behind. The engagement ring, the glamorous gowns, the film contracts, and the man who loved her. It was the ultimate sacrifice, a heart-wrenching pain, but for her it was the only path to true peace. The news that Dolores Hart was leaving Hollywood to enter a convent sent shockwaves around the world. The press ran wild with the story. Film studios were stunned. Fans couldn't believe it. Many thought it was a publicity stunt, that she would be back soon. They were wrong. Dolores Hart vanished from the world. She became a postulant, living a completely different life. No more cameras, no more spotlights, no more applause. Only silence, manual labor, and a strict schedule of prayer. She learned to live in a community, to follow rigorous rules, and to find joy in the simplest things. After years of formation, she professed her final vows and took the name Sister and later Mother Dolores Hart. She was not just an ordinary nun. With her leadership skills and wisdom, she was elected prioress of the Abbey of Regina Laudis, responsible for guiding and caring for the entire community. More than 60 years have passed since Dolores Hart walked through those monastery gates. What is her life like now? Mother Dolores Hart still resides at the Abbey of Regina Laudis in Bethlehem, Connecticut. It's a large property with a farm, forests, and historic buildings. Her life, and that of the other nuns, follows the strict rule of Saint Benedict, ora et labora, pray and work. A typical day begins very early, around 2 a.m., with the first prayer of the day, vigils. They pray together as a community 8 times a day, interspersed with periods of labor, study, and silence. Manual labor is essential. Mother Dolores, like the other nuns, participates in the abbey's work, such as caring for the livestock, cows, sheep, making cheese, gardening, sewing, and managing the abbey's administrative tasks. Silence is highly valued. There are specific times and areas in the abbey where complete silence is observed for contemplation and prayer. They live as a large family, eating together, working together, and supporting one another. This life is the complete opposite of the glamour, freedom, and constant change of Hollywood. But for Mother Dolores, it is a life of purpose, order, and profound peace. Upon entering the monastery, Dolores Hart relinquished all her personal assets and the potential to earn millions from her film career. Under the vow of poverty, nuns own nothing. All property belongs to the monastic community and is used for the common good. Mother Dolores's greatest assets now are her spiritual life, her community, and her relationship with God. As a nun who has taken final vows, Mother Dolores Hart did not marry and has no biological children. However, she often says that the nuns in her community are her family, her sisters. In her role as prioress for many years, she served as a spiritual mother, guiding and caring for generations of nuns. And what about Don Robinson? Their love story did not end in tragedy. Don Robinson never married. He kept his promise and visited Mother Dolores at the Abbey once a year at Christmas and Easter until his death in 2011. Their love blossomed into a lifelong friendship, a deep spiritual bond. She was by his side during his final days. She never completely severed ties with her past. She remains a voting member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the organization that presents the Oscars. Every year, she still receives films to watch and vote on. She says this helps her stay connected to the outside world and understand what is happening in the arts. In 2012, the world was stunned once again when Mother Dolores Hart returned to the Oscar red carpet. She was the subject of a short documentary film titled God is the Bigger Elvis. Produced by HBO, the film told the story of her life, her choice, and her current existence in the monastery. She agreed to participate in the film for a very practical reason. The Abbey of Regina Laudis desperately needed funds to repair and upgrade its facilities. She hoped her story could attract attention and help for her community. The film was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Documentary Short. Mother Dolores, in her full nun's habit, walked the red carpet with the director and production team after nearly 50 years away. That image became a powerful symbol, a woman who had given up Hollywood for her faith, now using Hollywood's own platform to serve that faith. Her home is not a luxurious Hollywood mansion. After leaving the spotlight, she moved to the Abbey of Regina Laudis, a traditional Benedictine monastery nestled in peaceful nature, full of tradition and simplicity. The abbey is built in a classic, solemn style with stone buildings, a small chapel, common rooms, and a farm. She lives in a simple, unadorned cell with a single bed, a reading desk, holy pictures, and basic necessities. No TV or modern entertainment. The abbey is surrounded by green hills, gardens, and pastures where the nuns care for livestock, chickens, cows, and even an African gray parrot named Bo, whom Dolores adores and often talks to. She lives with dozens of other nuns, following a strict schedule of prayer, manual labor, and silence. Now in her 80s, Mother Dolores Hart remains an energetic and wise presence at the Abbey of Regina Laudis. Though she no longer serves as prioress, she actively participates in community life. She continues her daily routine of prayer and work. She wrote her autobiography, The Ear of the Heart, an actress's journey from Hollywood to holy vows, detailing her life story. She also serves as a spokesperson for the Abbey's expansion project, The New Horizons, to ensure a sustainable future for her community. The story of Dolores Hart is not a tragedy of failure. It is the tragedy of a great choice. Her suffering came not from without, but from the internal struggle to renounce a world that millions dream of in order to follow the calling of her heart. Her legacy is not just 10 films or a kiss with Elvis Presley. Her greatest legacy is her life itself, a living testament that true happiness is sometimes found not in what we gain, but in what we are brave enough to give up. What do you think of this extraordinary choice? In your own life, have you ever heard a different calling, a different path meant for you? Leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss our next fascinating story. Goodbye and see you again soon.